Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another Monday video with me and Lavinia Stamps. Today I'm going to share with you how I created this harmoniously blended card using some gorgeous stamps. I've got the lovely little tear, and if you look at the detail on her, you can actually see her eyelashes, look at her fingers, and those tiny little decorative pieces on her boots. So she's the focal point of our card, and the theme for the creative challenge this month is celebration. So here we have her celebrating life, throwing some magic in the air using some of my favourite colours. So we've got shaded lilac, salvage patina, mermaid lagoon, and around the edge I've got blueprint sketch. I've stamped everything with VersaFine Clair Nocturne. I'm using my stencil brushes. So I'm using one of each, the blue and the purple, but actually because they are such similar colours, you could get away with just using one brush, but because I use these colours all the time, I've got one for each. I've got my Posca pen, which is going to give me the dots at the bottom, my smoothie for creating that frame around the edge, and my stencil that I'm using is Pebble. I chose this one because, again, I feel like it just adds to that little atmosphere, magic of the celebration theme. Now, before we start, I just want to talk a little bit about colours. So I've chosen blues and purples for this, and you can see they blend well together. So if you're making a card and you want this lovely blend and sort of harmony, then you want to choose colours that are close to each other, next to each other on the colour wheel. If I wanted something that was a real contrast, something that made a statement, then I would choose something on the opposite sides of the colour wheel. So that's just a useful tip to remember. The size card that we're going to be using is an A6 card, and I've got multifarious cardstock here, so we'll get started. I'm going to start by doing my stamping. And some people ask me, well, why do you start stamping first? And on other times, why do you create the background first? And really, it depends on what I'm doing. But for this, because I want to see where I want to put my colours, where I want to put the stencil, I'm going to do my stamping first. So here I've got Wreath Flourish Right, and I'm going to pop it like this, so that we create a bit of a swing that Tia can sit on. And I just want to apologise for this ghastly mark on my finger here. I was using a hot glue gun. In fact, in preparation for the festival, the extravaganza next weekend, I'm making a crown and a head collar. And I was using this hot glue gun, and massive blister on my finger, which is a bit of a drag really, but anyway. My collar and my headdress are beautiful, so I do hope you'll join us for that extravaganza. It looks to be a lot of fun, and if you've joined us in the past you will know. So I will be at the shop for Saturday and Sunday, and there are heaps of giveaways, heaps of videos to keep you entertained and keep you wanting more of these gorgeous products. So I've taken Wreath Flourish Left and I just popped it that way. So we've got Wreath Flourish Right here and then the left one to create this sort of little swing here. I'm just going to clean this off my mat before we go to the next step. And the next step is to ink up the little Tia. Now she's a pretty solid stamp, so you do want to make sure that you give her a good inking. And then I'm going to seat her on this flourish. Lovely. Then we're going to colour the background before we do anything else. And for that, I'm going to take my pebble stencil, lay it over the top of my card. And then I'm going to take my lighter colours in the Distress Oxides. I've got Shaded Lilac and Salvaged Patina to start with. So I'm just going to hold this stencil down with my left hand. That way, if I hold it here, then I can just flick it up and see what's happening on behind it. So I always take a bit from my ink pad onto my mat, dab it off so that I don't get any heavy blotches on my card. I'm starting off the card and a circular motion. I'm just going to lightly bring it over the card. And I'm going to do this in different places throughout the card. So here's my Salvaged Patina. I'm going to pick up my Shaded Lilac. And then you can see how we're starting to create this background. I'm going to bring in a bit of Mermaid Lagoon here. Ever so lightly, you don't want it to be too dark. And then I've left a bit of a space around where she is sitting. Then I'm going to go in with Blueprint Sketch right along the bottom. I've just re-inked my pad, so it's quite dark, that one. So that's why I always start on the edge of the card, because I am often going to put a darker frame around the card. So if it's too dark, it will be incorporated as part of the frame. Now I really quite like that, so I'm going to stop. So you can see you've got this different colours going on in the background. And I'm just going to wipe my mat off. Just water. Then I'm going to pick up my miniature stars here. This, I have to say is one of my favourite pound stamps of all time. In fact, I've got a bit of ink on my fingers. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of hand sanitizer and clean my hands off. I always have a bit of hand sanitizer close to my desk for that very reason. And I know sometimes you will have seen me use a piece of acetate to cover my work, but when it's on the tips of my fingers like that was, you're just asking for a bit of trouble. So back to my gorgeous little mini stars. And the first one that I'm going to pop is coming out of her hand, like that. And then I'm going to offset each of these. So we're going to go up the card like this. It's just a bit more interesting than going up in a straight line. Voila. Then I'm going to take my Wild Berry stamps. There's two, as I said, in the set. This is the larger one. And I'm going to pop these along the bottom. So I am going to start with the larger one. I'm going to pop it there. Pop the other one over there. And then just pop this in the middle. And then I'm going to take the smaller stamp in the set and fill it in along the bottom there. Just Different sizes will give you a bit more interest here. And you can see I'm setting them at different heights. And then I'm going to pop a few of these just peeking into the card. Up the sides like that. So there we have our gorgeous card. I'm now going to take my blueprint sketch with my smoothie, and this is when I will use my piece of acetate here. Take off most of the ink first. That's a lot. As I say, I've just re-inked this ink pad. There we go. So I'm just going to go in lightly. So I sort of squish the top of the smoothie like that. And you'll see it's going to look completely different when we've popped the frame around it. And it'll draw your eye to the centre of the card. And then I'm just going to take my white Posca pen and just dot in and amongst the berries at the bottom. Quite randomly. And you can see how it's showing up against the darker blueprint sketch. So there we have it. The gorgeous little tear on her swing. There's my original. So depending on how much purple you've put in or blues, you'll end up with a slightly different look. Thanks so much for being here. I'm so grateful to you all, and I'll see you again really soon now. Bye for now.